Tucker. I walked into work rocking a dress. Jenny walked quietly through the spotless hospital corridor, her footsteps echoing softly in the stillness of the night shift. The faint beeping of machines broke the silence now and then. Suppressing a yawn, she brushed a hand through her chestnut hair as she reached the nurse's station. Another long night, she muttered, settling into the chair. She hadn't even been scheduled to work, but Maria had called in sick at the last minute. As the head nurse, Jenny couldn't bring herself to leave the shift uncovered. It meant sacrificing a peaceful evening at home with her husband, Daryl, but responsibility came first. Pulling up patient charts, she scanned through names and conditions. The emergency room had been unusually quiet so far, and she silently hoped it would stay that way. A calm night meant time to catch up on paperwork. Hours passed as Jenny moved from room to room, checking vitals and administering medication. She paused beside an elderly woman who couldn't sleep, offering gentle reassurance and a comforting touch. Moments like these reminded her why she chose nursing. To care, to comfort, to make a difference. As dawn began to creep through the windows, exhaustion settled deep into her bones. Her body protested the disrupted sleep and she longed for her bed. Soon enough her shift ended. After handing over duties to the day staff, she stepped outside. The cool morning air felt refreshing after the sterile hospital environment. Driving home, she looked forward to seeing Daryl. The house was quiet when she arrived. Assuming he was still asleep, she slipped inside and headed to the bedroom, changing into comfortable pajamas along the way. But when she reached the doorway, she paused. The bed was empty. Strange. Maybe he had gone outside early. He'd been talking about yard work. Too tired to think much of it, she climbed into bed and drifted off. When she woke later, the silence in the house felt heavier. Daryl, she called, moving from room to room. No answer. A sense of unease crept in. Then her eyes landed on the kitchen window, which overlooked the backyard. Her heart nearly stopped. A figure lay motionless beneath the large oak tree. Daryl. She ran outside, panic rising with every step. As she got closer, she saw him clearly, crumpled at the base of the tree, a fallen ladder nearby. His face was pale, his body still. Dropping beside him, her nursing instincts took over. She quickly checked his breathing, steady. Relief washed over her. Daryl, can you hear me? She asked, gently tapping his cheek. His eyes fluttered open, a weak groan escaping his lips. Jenny. I'm here. Don't move, she said softly. What happened? I was trimming the tree, he murmured, wincing. Lost my balance. Jenny glanced at her watch. You might have been out here for hours. I just got home. Carefully examining him, she noticed his leg twisted at an unnatural angle, swelling already visible. I think your leg is broken, she said calmly. I'm calling an ambulance. He nodded faintly, gripping her hand as pain flickered across his face. Jenny rushed inside, calling for help and grabbing essentials. She also notified his parents. Soon, paramedics arrived and everything became a blur. Sirens, movement, urgency. She rode with him in the ambulance, holding his hand, whispering reassurance. At the hospital, X-rays confirmed it. A fractured leg. Daryl was taken into surgery to set the bone. Jenny paced the waiting room, exhaustion forgotten, replaced by worry and guilt. He had been home. Finally, the surgeon appeared. The operation had gone well. Daryl's leg was secured in a heavy cast, stretching from his thigh to his toes. He would remain in the hospital for a few days before continuing recovery at home. Jenny exhaled deeply, relief finally settling in. He was going to be okay. After a few days, Daryl was finally discharged, ready to continue his recovery at home. Jenny split her time between work and hospital visits, and once his release date was set, she rearranged her schedule to stay home and care for him. She prepared everything in advance. Furniture shifted to create clear paths for crutches, and a setup in the living room where he could keep his leg elevated. Home at last, Jenny said softly as she helped him inside. Daryl moved awkwardly on his crutches, still adjusting. You have no idea how good it feels to leave that hospital bed, he replied, though frustration lingered in his tone. She guided him to the recliner and carefully lifted his casted leg onto the ottoman. Better. He leaned back with a sigh. As good as it can be, I guess. But how am I supposed to work like this? The question hung heavy between them. Daryl was a professional painter. His work depended on balance, movement, precision. All things his injury had taken away, at least for now. Jenny sat beside him, gently running her fingers through his hair. "We'll figure something out. For now, just focus on healing. Your clients will understand." But as the days passed, it became clear that rest wasn't easy for him. He grew restless, irritated, and increasingly frustrated with feeling dependent and unproductive. Jenny did her best to lift his mood, but she could see the struggle in his eyes. About a week later, while helping him change into clean clothes, a strange idea began forming in her mind. "You know," she said slowly, "there might be a way for you to work, even with the cast." Daryl raised an eyebrow. "How? I can barely walk straight." Jenny hesitated, then said it. "What if you wore something looser? Something that doesn't interfere with the cast." "Like what?" He took a breath. "Like a dress." Silence. For a moment she worried she'd gone too far. But then his expression shifted, surprise turning into amusement. "A dress?" he repeated, then chuckled. "Honestly, that's not the worst idea." Relief flooded her face. "It would be easier than struggling with pants," he admitted. "And probably more comfortable too." Encouraged, Jenny nodded. "Exactly. And you'd have better movement for work. We can find simple, practical options, nothing flashy." Daryl considered it, then shrugged lightly. "At this point, I'll try anything. I can't stay stuck like this forever." That evening they started browsing online, looking for plain, work-appropriate dresses. Jenny also picked up a few basic makeup items, just in case he felt self-conscious about how others might react. "I never thought I'd be doing this," Daryl joked, shaking his head. "Dresses and makeup for painting jobs. Life's weird." "Temporary solution," Jenny smiled. While waiting for their orders to arrive, they practiced with some of Jenny's own clothes. At first it felt awkward, but soon laughter replaced hesitation. "You know," Daryl said, spinning slightly in a loose sundress, "this actually feels freeing." Jenny laughed. "Told you. And it's definitely easier to move." When the packages finally arrived, they spent the evening trying everything on. Testing fits, adjusting styles, even experimenting with subtle makeup looks. Daryl adapted quickly, his steady hands making the process easier than expected. "So?" he asked, turning toward Jenny. He stood there in a simple navy wrap dress that fell just below his knees, practical, neat, and surprisingly natural on him. Jenny smiled, a mix of pride and reassurance in her eyes. "Honestly, it works." Jenny adjusted the fabric carefully, making sure the bulky cast was as hidden as possible. As she stepped back, a wave of affection washed over her. "You look amazing," she said warmly. "Neat, confident, completely put together. How do you feel?" Daryl paused, thinking it over. "Honestly, pretty comfortable. It's different, yeah, but I think I can make this work." The next challenge was letting his clients know. Together, they decided to keep things simple and direct. Because of his injury, Daryl would be wearing dresses for a while to move more easily and continue working. To their surprise, most people were understanding. A few were caught off guard at first, but in the end they cared more about getting their homes painted than what their painter was wearing. Daryl's first day back brought a mix of excitement and nerves. Jenny helped him get ready, smoothing his outfit and making sure everything looked just right. "You've got this," she said, giving him a reassuring kiss. "Just focus on your work." As the days went on, his confidence grew. The dresses made movement easier and he noticed they were actually quite practical, less likely to snag or get in the way than loose trousers. At first, there were a few curious glances, but his skill quickly spoke louder than appearances. About a month later, Daryl came home one afternoon looking thoughtful. "Everything okay?" Jenny asked, helping him out of his boots. "Yeah, just thinking," he said slowly. "I realized something today." "What is it?" He hesitated, then admitted, "I think I might actually miss wearing dresses when the cast comes off." Jenny smiled gently, taking his hand. "Really? Tell me." They sat together as Daryl opened up about the past few weeks. The unexpected sense of freedom, the confidence he'd gained, and how the experience had changed his perspective. "I never thought much about clothes before," he said. "Just what was practical. But now, it feels like those rules we follow about what men or women should wear, they're kind of arbitrary. If something works and feels right, why not?" Jenny listened closely, her support steady and reassuring. "I'm really glad you found something meaningful in all this," she said. "And you know I'm with you no matter what you choose." He pulled her into a hug. "That means everything to me." In the weeks that followed, their conversations deepened. They talked about identity, expectations, and how fashion has changed over time. Daryl even started experimenting, trying different styles beyond the simple work outfits. He discovered he liked light, flowing clothes on hot days, and more structured styles for meeting clients. With each step, his confidence grew, not just in what he wore but in who he was becoming. Jenny noticed the change too. The way he carried himself, the ease in his posture. It all reflected a quiet, growing self-assurance. Eventually, the day came to remove the cast. Sitting in the doctor's office, Jenny squeezed his hand. "How are you feeling?" "A bit nervous," Daryl admitted. "I've gotten used to all of this." The doctor worked quickly and soon the cast was gone. Daryl flexed his leg, adjusting to the strange, freeing sensation. "Take it slow," the doctor advised. "Your strength will come back, but it'll take time." Outside, Daryl leaned on Jenny as they walked to the car, his legs still weak. "So," she said lightly, "want to go home and change before we grab lunch?" He paused, then shook his head with a small smile. "Actually, I think I'm good like this." Jenny's smile widened. "Then let's go celebrate." Over lunch they talked about what came next. Daryl had made up his mind to keep exploring, wearing what felt right both at work and in daily life. "I don't want to rush anything," he said. "Just figure things out at my own pace." Jenny reached across the table, holding his hand. "That's perfect. You don't have to choose one way or another. Just be yourself." As they stood to leave, Daryl looked at her with gratitude. "You know, when I fell off that ladder, I never imagined it would lead me here. Thank you for everything." Jenny leaned in and kissed his cheek. "That's what love is for." Hand in hand they stepped outside, into a world that suddenly felt wider, more open. What began as an accident had turned into something unexpected, a journey of self-discovery. And with Jenny beside him, Daryl felt ready for whatever came next, one step and one choice at a time. In the weeks that followed, Daryl leaned further into his newfound sense of freedom. Instead of returning to how things used to be, he began blending styles. Some days choosing traditional men's clothing, other days opting for dresses, depending on his mood and the kind of work he had lined up. His clients, who had already grown used to seeing him in dresses during his recovery, barely reacted anymore. If anything, they noticed something else. "You seem different," a few of them said. "More at ease." And they weren't wrong. One bright afternoon, while finishing a job at Mrs. Henderson's house, the elderly woman approached him with a kind smile. "You know," she said gently, "I've been watching how you've handled everything since your accident. I'm impressed." Daryl paused, wiping sweat from his forehead. "Thank you. That really means a lot." She rested a hand on his arm. "My late husband used to say, clothes don't define a man. It's his character that does. And you've shown plenty of that." Her words hit deeper than she probably realized. Daryl nodded, quietly moved. "I appreciate that more than you know." Later that evening, as he packed up his tools, he found himself reflecting. What had once felt like a setback had turned into something unexpected, an opening into a part of himself he had never explored before. At home, Jenny listened eagerly as he shared his thoughts. Their conversations often stretched late into the night now, touching on ideas and feelings they had never discussed before. One evening, sitting together on the back porch as the sun dipped below the horizon, Daryl spoke again, more thoughtful than usual. "I've been thinking a lot about identity," he said, absent-mindedly brushing the fabric of his outfit. Jenny turned toward him. "In what way?" He took a moment. "I think a lot of who I thought I was came from rules I never questioned. Society's rules. This whole experience, it's made me step back and rethink all of that." Jenny nodded. "Has it changed how you see yourself?" "Not exactly who I am," he replied slowly. "I still feel like me. But it's like I've unlocked parts of myself I didn't even know were there. And now I feel free to express them." Jenny smiled, squeezing his hand. "That takes courage. I'm really proud of you." Daryl returned the smile. "I couldn't have done it without you." As time passed, his confidence only grew. What started as a practical solution had become something more meaningful. He began experimenting more, trying different styles, mixing elements, and discovering what truly felt right. One Saturday morning he called out excitedly from the bedroom. "Jenny, come here, tell me what you think." She walked in and paused, impressed. Daryl stood there wearing a flowing burgundy maxi skirt paired with a crisp white button-down shirt. A leather belt pulled the look together neatly at the waist, and he'd added ankle boots along with subtle accessories. "Wow," Jenny said, genuinely amazed. "You look incredible. That outfit is so well put together." Daryl grinned. "I wasn't sure about mixing styles like this, but I kind of love it." "You should," she replied, stepping closer to fix his collar. "You've really developed a sense of style." As they left the house together, Jenny couldn't help but notice how much had changed. It wasn't just the clothes, it was the way he carried himself. There was a confidence, a lightness, something real and unforced. Later, at a local art fair, Daryl's unique look drew attention, but not in a negative way. People noticed. Some even complimented him. And for the first time he didn't feel like he had to explain himself. He simply smiled and kept walking forward.